Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 554. It's a live episode, so if you don't get this live, we appreciate you for listening to the replay. Definitely hit the notification button and hit the subscribe button on YouTube so you can actually get the notifications of when we go live. This is a live episode we're doing here, so we appreciate everybody that listens as well in the replay as well as live. So feel free to type into the chat where you listening live or listening to replay from. Always feel free to type into the chat where you listening live, listen to replay from. It's Trustee Training, so you're letting people know where you're at in the country. Maybe other trustees are in that area, which people in trust work with people in trust. So there may be an opportunity to do a workshop with multiple trustees in that area. It's only 50 states. It's not that many. It's 300 days in the year, so you can actually do each state, and do multiple cities each day of the year. So for trustees all over the country. So definitely look forward to hearing from all the trustees or people that want to go through private trustee training. Feel free to reach out Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. Feel free to reach out Christian at trustchristian.com. Always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening, replay. This is the Vault 554 US Dollar Demise versus Private Banking. This is one of those episodes that we've talked about this for years, but we were given a compliment from a peer, what they like to call as a colleague, and if not so, another spirit in the universe said, hey, Trust Christian, you can go ahead and talk about it. Talk about it in the public, private banking, because there's this whole thought process that the dollar is going to be purposefully deflated. And even if it is purposefully deflated, in our lifetime, ladies and gentlemen, we highly doubt that we're going to see the dollar lose the value and there be an economy reset. So, we're not talking theoretical, but it is our thoughts. This is the vault. Going over what people call the dollar demise. People have said the dollar is going to demise for years. You could almost look at the world right now and say who has the strongest currency still? Who's holding strong in warlike times? Appreciate Stockton, California for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate Stockton, California. Always got them. We've been out to Stockton before, so appreciate Stockton for tuning in live, listen, replay. And so, for years now, the US dollar's gonna go trash. We're looking for the feedback. You can feel free to email us. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we sit in the room with the people that make the rules, not the ones that are following them. So when people talk about a system reset, the system doesn't just get reset for the lower tier. It gets reset for everybody. There are just rules. And some people know which rules that they have to follow and which ones you don't. No one told people that they had to get a job. They've just been trained to get one. No one told them they had to start a business. They just haven't been trained to do it. So, if we walk into an environment where business as usual says, we have this on faithful piece of paper. O ye of faithful piece of paper. Yes, we've been on O ye faithful piece of paper since the Great Depression. We've been on O ye faithful paper. So, no, that's not completely accurate. How? How, Sway? Because didn't the dollar, wasn't it backed up until the 70s by gold? So how was it backed on OU humans faithful, OU citizens faithful to the 70s, right? Right. So then we get to the 70s in the States and they released the dollar as a open floating currency, which is great. It's been great for the States. It's been great for other countries. We saw OPEC rise. They have the petrodollar. So recently we had someone come to us in a conversation and say, well, what about the petro yuan? You all may not know about the petro yuan. But we had a conversation once again, and they want to bring this up in conversation as if we care. First of all, the petro yuan will be a Chinese currency. First of all, the Chinese currency is not floating. You can't even purchase it. You cannot trade and get into yuan as a United States citizen. How do you get into the yuan? That's the question, ladies and gentlemen. How do you get into the yuan? Are you into the yuan? Have you diversified into yuan? It's not on the market for sale. So why would someone be terrified in markets that their money is moving around? Petro yuan, where's that moving? So once again, how is it a demise of the dollar when somebody's saying they want to be competition when they have a thing called OPEC? They got a thing called OPEC, ladies and gentlemen. They're using the petrodollar. As long as OPEC is using the petrodollar, the dollar will be in good standing. These countries have gotten rich off the United States based off of OPEC. The Middle East is rich off the United States based off of OPEC. They're selling oil through a dollar conversion. Why aren't they converting their money for the oil? But they're not. Because the dollar has value. It has a very productive society. In turn, the people almost can hold a debt. So when you go look at nationaldebtclock.com, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. We'll go pull it up for you all if you've never heard about nationaldebtclock.com. National Debt Clock. What is it? usdebtclock.org. So this is supposedly the debt of the United States that they're owning on paper, or at least they put out to the public, and it tells you they're basically their balance sheet in the public. So, interestingly enough, uh, this is what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. You say the dollar is losing value. Sure, the dollar can lose value at a very slow rate right now. Even if we saw, ladies and gentlemen, in our lifetime as a millennial, talking to others in this time and energy, ladies and gentlemen, sure, if the dollar has been losing value, quote unquote, because it hasn't been backed by gold, but it's been backed by the faith of the people. Why would you want the dollar to demise and you're a person of the culture, a person of the country, the citizens of the country? The question is, we were talking once again to the college, do you think the citizens once again want the dollar to crash? You guys, people, they hear these people on the internet and on TV and they say, oh, the economy's going to crash or the market's going to crash. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if the market's going to do that, that's bad for everybody. They say, oh, it's going to be a civil war. Not at all, ladies and gentlemen. We're in free enterprise. The economy was just booming 4 years ago. It's been booming after the pandemic. And see, now we're at a part in the story again where the market is performing well. So for that reason, why would the United States dollar go down when when their market is one of the stronger markets to invest in? The dollar's a safe haven. This is what we had to talk to the colleague about. You think people are fleeing to these other countries' money? You can't even buy Chinese yuan. What currency are you going to buy? Are you going to go buy Brazilian real? Are you going to go buy Russian rubles? Are you serious? These are the questions that we have to pose to trustees when they reach out and they talk this stuff to us about, oh, the dollar, it's going to crash. Ladies and gentlemen, if it crashes, then the world will crash. Oh, the world's going to be reset. And then they're going to pull out what? So we had to keep walking with the colleague down the IMF and how they have SDRs and how they have special drawing rights and how the World Bank, what is it, the IMFs particularly, not the World Bank. The World Bank's a separate bank. They have another bank as well, but we'll do because there's a few, there are many actually private international banks. Oh, I want a sovereign wealth fund. A sovereign wealth fund is a private bank. But we're going to talk about some stuff in this episode about the private banks because In the public banks, they say, oh, you only get, what is it, $250,000 worth of insurance on the money? We talked about this on an episode before, but we're going to dig in because in the private sector, first of all, in the private sector, the money still can be FDIC insured for over 250,000. How does that work in the private trust, Christian in the vault? That's what we're going to get to. We're going to continue with this US dollar demise because this is a topic that sits on the internet, and Americans that live in the United States say, oh man, the dollar's going to fall out of the sky. It's going to be, one day it's going to be a stock market crash. Ladies and gentlemen, you saw it after COVID. That's what you saw. The market was falling so fast, they shut the stock market down that day. No more trading. Not only that, they had public companies that stopped the market from trading. Or those companies got stopped from being traded. You can name, oh, those are pump and dumps, Trust Christian in the vault. Those are pump and dumps. They're happening in the public banking system. But hold on, didn't one of the blockchains go down? I thought blockchain was private money. Blockchain's not private money. It's private banking, eh? Let's continue down the dollar demise. So the US dollar demise looks like, oh, well, trust Christians have always see it going down slowly and losing value to something that comes up robust at one point. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to talk to people very candidly when we talk to them and risk management perspective. So let's talk about it, risk management perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, the dollar in your portfolio is a actual safe haven right now. Don't see it crashing because that would be bad for everybody. So, do we see the dollar losing value? Sure, slowly over a period of time. At the end of the day, if it went to second place, who's going to replace it as a first? It'll be a global coin. It'll be a a world dollar because the money now needs to be able to go into different jurisdictions. There are jurisdictions that the money's not always allowed to go into. There's conversions, there's exchanges. The US dollar, ladies and gentlemen, if it was backed on the faith of the people, why do the people want it to fail so bad? Are they being programmed that their dollar's going to fail? Right. So when you come over to private banking, that's not how it works. In private banking sector, we cash is just another commodity. It's a commodity. It's like carrots. It's like any other commodity. Food. It's a commodity. So now when we come to private banking, what are the rules? Are we dealing with what they call inflation, where the dollar's losing the value or otherwise? Oh, is it? Is it? Okay. So in the private sector, what are they doing? Remember how they have the $250,000 rule on the public side? On the private side, we saw 250 million the other day, and we also saw 100 million, $150 million fund. So you say, how do you get into these type of situations, Trust Christian and Vault? You have to have $1 million plus. That's what we saw. We saw that you have to have $1 million plus. It's not just accredited investors because you have to deposit a certain amount of money into the bank. These are private institutions, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Trust Christian Vault, can you get that information out over the internet? We were sitting in front of somebody and said, why can't you just put together your private bank? Well, if you do a private bank, did you hear the key word? It's a private bank. So they do private loans. It's a private lending institution. It's a private banking institution. Oh, okay. Sounds different, right? Right. You think on the private side, we're thinking about if the dollar goes up or down? When you're hedged properly against inflation or It's really called hedging because you're hedging risk. We gotta hedge the risk. Private banking is how you hedge the risk against the US dollar. Everybody says, oh, I want to go into these policies and all this other stuff. How are you hedging your risk? What is what is the private banking in place to do to hedge risk? Is it too broad? Too out of scope? Why do I need to start a private banking system? Well, if you're in the public, why not have a private? You're already in the public. The private came before the public. People are just in the public because that's what's more pronounced. It's like utilizing public debt or utilizing your own capital. Like utilizing the dollar, whereas you could go to private institutions and they have private equity. They have private institutions that lend capital, that fund dreams, private equity, venture capital, angel investors. Private banking, that's who they are. Fa- Trustees, that's who's private banking. The US dollar demise, ladies and gentlemen, even if you're a trustee, how does that benefit you to harp on the fact that the US dollar is going down? It doesn't. Because if trustees are in hard assets, then they have a fighting chance. There's a bunch of trustees that reached out recently. Oh man, well, should I be in hard cash or should I be in liquid cash or should I be in hard assets? Or should you be in hard assets? Well, ladies and gentlemen, some people could say, "Oh, you should be liquid." Some people could say, "Oh, you should be in hard assets." There's a lot of things people could say, ladies and gentlemen, once again, because it may not be their money. That's fine. It's not their money. At the end of the day, private banking is just that. It's the family making those decisions, not the public banking system. So of course there's advantages to private banking, quote unquote, as opposed to going US dollar demise, staying with the public, staying heavily invested in cash, and not just even cash. Because most people, we ask the human population in the public, they'll tell you most people don't have savings. So if they don't have savings, the U.S. think about that. Even if you saving a dollar, if it's losing value based off inflation, even savings is crazy. But no one wants to know that, oh, you're paying to leave your money at the bank. Why do you think you get a small percentage back? Because they're the holder and the custodial holder. They're charging fees, custodial fees. So is it private banking? They're not doing private banking. But do people read it? Oh man, the bank, man, they doing all this stuff, man. How they going to do this? How they going to do that? Well, they're practicing banking. Whether it's public banking or private banking, they're practicing banking. Are you practicing private banking? And then, here we go, trustees. Are you all commingling public and private trusteeship? Are you all commingling public and private banking? Public and private don't mix. Are you mixing public and private banking? Oh man, I'm trying to use these private banking practices in the public so I don't have to deal with this. Okay, well, at the same time, is it a public debt or private debt? Well, it all originated where? Exactly. See how the conversation starts? These are the things that we talk about with the trustees or the people that reach out to a consultation. If you're going to sit here and say that, oh, it's this debt, there's a few people that have reached out and talked about that. Oh, there's a debt. But it depends on what type of debt it is. And in private, they're definitely a lot harder to get rid of. Why? Because it's the private. It's about accountability. It's about making sure that you can have wealth preservation. Private banking is wealth preservation. The US dollar sitting in the public trying to figure it out is not wealth preservation. We almost want to say that people in the public, when they practice US dollar public banking, they're practicing a very uneducated way of banking. Because there may be a reason to have a public bank for collateral holding purposes, custodial purposes, for many different purposes. When we talk about private banking, there's definitely a strategic reason for private banking as well. And many families reach out for private banking. Trust Christian Revolt, we want to, know about this type of stuff. We know they do. That's why we're talking about it. We've had so many people reach out. Oh, can I start a private bank? Can I do my own private banking? How you going to mix private banking in the public? We're going to repeat again. How are you going to mix a private process in the public? And then we always say this to the trustees. If you do something that's private in the public, do you think you're supposed to talk about it in the public? We don't talk about that type of stuff in the public at the vault. Why? Because it's called private banking. I mean, you can't call it private banking if you're not going to practice the privacy aspect of it. But oh no, no. Trust Christian in the vault. We going to do the private banking about reading all this stuff over the internet in the public. Okay, have at it. Oh man, Trust Christian Vault. Have you seen private banking at its finest? We seen private banking at its finest, and we seen it at its worst. It's almost like certain people just don't get the bank off the ground, and some people, they end up walking into where they start managing a bank as a trustee. People talk about that. Oh, can I manage an estate? Can I manage assets as a trustee when I go through the trustee training program? Ladies and gentlemen, we almost could brag about the fact that we've had trustees go through trustee training and literally go to law school, and they're still around for over 5 years now. They've been around, gone to law school. We've dealt with lawyers at the vault. We brought Olympic athletes on the line. We brought estate lawyers on the line. So we have no problem with bringing them through. Just remember, there's public and there's private. Are they practicing public banking or private banking when they talk to you? Are they practicing private trusteeship or public trusteeship? We were on the line the other day with someone that's been dealing with a lot of people maybe dealing with these public government sponsored deferral programs. It says tax deferral, so that means at one point you're gonna have to pay it. And do you think they're gonna be lower in the future? But here we go. We got trustees that say, oh, well, do I pay the penalty or do I move on? It depends. So we have to talk about that in the consultation. Maybe we bring on a financial advisor. That's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. You have to seek proper counsel. So the US dollar, you think it's going to hold strong or it's going to fall off? Oh, I heard the fear tactics. It's going to fall off. The US dollar is not going to hold strong. What's going to replace it? What currency do you know? We could see Japan. That was something that in the conversation we had with the peer was that we could see the Japanese yuan having good steady comeback over the next 25 years if they continue to insert themselves with some level of tech. They've already done that. You all know many companies that are coming out of Japan. They have huge companies. Even if you go to like a Taiwan, it's just not, these countries aren't super big. So, when you think about it versus the United States or something, it's not GDP wise. They're producing certain things and they're producing those products even in other jurisdictions. They're just getting a lot of money from their tech dominance. And so we see that. Once again, you can look around the world and see who's really going to be able to replace that dollar. Not an easy pill to swallow for a lot of people because they've been based into a lot of fear. Oh man, the dollar, man, it's supposed to go down. I see it on the news all the time. The stock market's going to crash and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, if the stock market was going to crash, why was it at roaring highs when you're saying it? Was it like that last time? No. Recently, when the stock market was down, everybody was like pretty consensus. Yeah, the market is pulled back. It slowed down. People were expecting to slow down. Yeah, and it's also gone on the run again. Why? Because the market doesn't just go straight up and the market doesn't go straight down. So even if it's been on the run again, we could see a slowdown, but not a correction like we seen like pre-COVID or something. Like that's a little exogenous, as they say. It's not something that we see happening again. So we definitely appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in a replay. A lot of people ask these questions as they come through the vault, whether it's in trustee training or just them reaching out, period. The US dollar demise and private banking versus private banking. We know what time it is. Do you need to go into private banking? Some people will say, well, look, it's not for everybody because they're not going to manage the estate properly. Really? So you shouldn't be practicing private family banking because no one told you? You shouldn't be practicing private family banking because you're in the public? You shouldn't be practicing private banking because your family didn't get the information and give it to you. You should not be practicing private family banking. That's the consensus? Or are we at the point where people say, wow, I see the value in privacy. I need to make sure that I'm private in many different realms. And if I'm doing public banking, I at least need to invest in my private education to figure it out. Wow, really? Well, the public education was free. It was like almost free lunch. Huh? There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Free lunch is paid by your parents and taxpayers. Some type of fun setup. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. This is the Vault, episode 554. Definitely appreciate you listening all the way through to this far. This is the Vault, episode 554. U.S. dollar demise versus private banking. We could say private family banking. You gotta get your. How much longer can you afford for your family not to practice private family banking? If you listen this far, if you want to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com, once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com, how long can your family go without practicing private family banking? Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Look forward to hearing from you all. Peace and joy.